I was standing in line at Target with a basket full of shampoo and Raymond when my phone buzzed with an email from Social Security. Reminder, your annual Representative Pay accounting form is due. The subject line stopped me cold. Representative Pay. For years, that phrase had meant one thing: my parents. They were the ones Social Security had trusted to manage the disability checks I got as a kid, and they were the ones who'd always told me, "There's no money, Jamie. Be grateful for what you have." And accept there was money, and it sure as hell hadn't been spent on me. My name's Jamie. I'm 23 now. But this started when I was 10 and got diagnosed with a chronic neurological condition that likes to show up at the worst possible times. Dizziness, weakness, pain, the whole fun package. School became on again, off again. Sports were out. Hospital visits were in. We lived in a small town in Ohio. My dad worked construction. My mom worked part-time at a grocery store. We weren't poor exactly, but there was always a sense of just making it. When my neurologist suggested my parents apply for Supplemental Security Income, SSI, for me, it sounded like a lifeline. It's to help with Jamie's extra costs, he told them. Medications, equipment, transportation. He emphasized that for Jamie. The way it works is kids can qualify for disability benefits if their condition severely limits them and the household income is low enough. The checks go to a representative pay, usually a parent, who promises to use the money for the child's needs. My parents filled out the forms. We went to appointments. I remember Dad squeezing my shoulder in the Social Security office saying, "Don't worry, bud. We'll get you taken care of." A few months later, we got a letter I'd been approved $770 a month plus back pay for the months since we applied. Almost $800. Mom said, eyes wide. "Don't get excited," Dad said. "It's for his stuff." They opened a new bank account. The checks went in. And then nothing changed. At least not for me. We still lived in the same drafty duplex. My wheelchair for bad days was a second-hand one my aunt found on Facebook Marketplace. I still heard, "We can't afford it," anytime I asked about certain meds or a better mattress. But other things changed. My parents suddenly went on vacation. A lot. The first was a weekend anniversary trip to a cabin with a hot tub. Your dad's buddy gave us a deal. Mom said when I asked how they could afford it, "Don't worry about grown-up stuff." The next year, there was a 4-day cruise, then a week at Disney. Each time I stayed with my grandparents. Each time Mom would come home with a new Coach purse or a different hairstyle. Meanwhile, I was using a shower chair that rusted because we couldn't afford the better one. Whenever I asked if my disability money could help with something I actually needed, like extra tutoring after missing weeks of school, Dad would shut it down. "That SSI barely covers your copays," he'd say. "You think it's free money? Medical stuff is expensive. We're drowning here." I felt guilty, ashamed for even asking, so I stopped. When I turned 18, Social Security sent a thick packet. "Your SSI benefits will be reviewed under the adult disability rules." It said, "You may also be eligible for benefits on your own record." There was a section about Representative Payees. Upon reaching age 18, many beneficiaries become their own payees. That sentence lit up in my brain. Become their own payees. My parents, however, were not excited. "That's too much responsibility for you," Mom said, flipping through the forms. "We'll keep managing it." "We know the system." I pointed at the line. "It literally says I can handle it myself now." I said, "I'm an adult." Dad snorted. "Barely," he said. "You still live under our roof. We're the ones dealing with your doctors." He checked the box on the form that said, "Continue pay arrangement." I watched him do it. Something in my gut twisted. At my review meeting, the Social Security claims rep asked me a few basic questions. "Can you cook? Can you handle money?" My parents answered for me. "Jamie's not good with that stuff," Mom said. "They'd forget to pay bills. It's better if we do it." I sat there feeling like a child while a stranger took notes about my capabilities based on 2 people who had a vested interest in staying in control. I left the office with this vague unease, but like a lot of things when you grow up in a controlling house, I shoved it down until the Target email. At 23, I'd finally moved out. A small 1-bedroom apartment with thin walls and the world's loudest upstairs neighbor, but it was mine. I worked 30 hours a week at the clinic and did some freelance captioning on the side. I still got a reduced SSI check some months when my hours dropped because of flares. I hoped that enough of the mess from before had been sorted out during my adult review. Turned out, my parents had been telling Social Security I wasn't ready to manage my own benefits. So the check's smaller now, but still something. We're still going into the account they controlled. I was too exhausted trying to balance work, health, and rent to fight them on that. I told myself at least they're using it for my medical stuff. The car loan denial shattered that illusion. I called Social Security's national line the day after getting the email. After the usual hold music purgatory, a rep named Denise picked up. "How can I help you today?" she asked. I took a breath. I think my representative Pay misused my benefits, I said. I want to know what my options are. Her tone shifted, not skeptical, sharper, more businesslike. Okay, she said. Can you explain what makes you think there was misuse? I told her that I'd been on child SSI, that my parents never let me see the checks, that we always couldn't afford things even while they went on vacations, that they'd stayed as my pays after I turned 18 against my wishes, that now, as an adult, I was finding out my credit was trashed from medical bills I thought they'd handled. She listened without interrupting. When I finished, she said, "First, I'm sorry you're dealing with all of this. Representative Payees are required by law to use benefits for the beneficiary's current needs and save anything extra for them. They're also required to keep records and complete accounting reports." I thought of the target email. "So what can I do?" I asked. "You can request a payee review," she said. "We'll investigate how your benefits have been used. If we find misuse, your parents could be required to repay the money, and will appoint a new payee or let you manage your own benefits." "Could they get in legal trouble?" I asked, voice small. "Yes," she said. "In serious cases, misuse is referred to our Office of the Inspector General, but our priority is making sure you are okay financially." She gave me the number for my local field office. "Call them," she said. "Ask for a pay change and report suspected misuse. You have the right to do that." I hung up and just sat there on my couch, staring at the wall. On one hand, vindication. On the other, dread. Reporting your own parents for federal benefit misuse is not on the list of fun adult milestones. But then I thought about my childhood, about Mom saying we couldn't afford a proper mobility aid, then posting pictures from a beach vacation a month later, about Dad buying a jet ski with his bonus while telling me no to physical therapy because insurance didn't cover it, about me now getting denied for a basic car because of debts I never had control over. I called the field office. The woman at the local Social Security office, Ms. Green, was brisk but kind. "We take pay misuse seriously," she said. "We'll need you to fill out a form describing what you know. We may also ask your parents for bank statements and receipts." "Will they know I reported them?" I asked. She didn't sugarcoat it. "Yes," she said. "You will be listed as the beneficiary raising concerns. They have a right to respond. We have a duty to protect you." My heart pounded. "Okay," I said, "let's do it." The form was detailed. Did your pay your rent, utilities, food, medical care? For many items, I had to answer honest and I don't know. Because how do you quantify? We always had groceries, but never the meds the doctor wanted. Still, I gave examples. Times I knew they'd used the check for themselves. Like the year my medication copay doubled and they refused to fill it until Grandma stepped in with her own money, while Dad put a deposit on that cruise. I attached anything I had. A photo of Dad's Facebook brag about finally taking the wife to Mexico, dated 3 days after an SSI deposit. Texts from Mom saying, "We're short on rent this month. Can we use your back pay?" When I got a lump sum at 17. Bank notices I'd found in their junk drawer when I was moving out, showing transfers from the Jamie SSI account to their joint checking, followed by payments to travel agencies. I mailed it, and then I waited. The audit took months. During that time, things at home were strained. I didn't tell my parents at first. Part of me hoped Social Security would do their review quietly, then just change the payee. Of course, that's not how it went. One Saturday, my phone lit up with Mom's name. "You called SSI on us?" she demanded without hello. My stomach dropped. "They sent us a letter," she continued, "asking for records, saying you think we misused your funds." "How could you do that to us? How could you do it to me?" I shot back. "Those checks were supposed to help with my medical needs. Instead, you went on vacations while I was rationing meds." Dad grabbed the phone. "You ungrateful child," he said. "We kept a roof over your head. We took you to doctors. We drove you to those appointments." "With my benefits," I said. "That's what they were for. I appreciate that. I don't appreciate cruises and jet skis and coach bags bought with money that had my name on it." "You don't know our finances?" he said. "Those trips were with my bonus. OSSI deposits increased conveniently before each one," I said. "And Social Security will see that when they look at your records." There was stunned silence. "You're going to get us in trouble," Mom whispered. "They could make us pay it back. We don't have that kind of money." "I didn't have a choice," I said. "You didn't listen when I asked about the money. You told Social Security I couldn't manage my own benefits so you could keep control. This is the only way to protect myself now. You're dead to me." Dad snapped and hung up. I sat there shaking. "Max, no, I didn't have a dog in this story, old habit." My cat Biscuit curling against my lap. I felt like I jumped off a cliff. All I could do was trust the process. A few months later, Ms. Green called. "We've completed our review," she said. "We found significant evidence that your past benefits were not used in your best interest." My heart pounded. "What does that mean?" I asked. "It means your parents will no longer be your payees," she said. "Going forward, you will receive your benefits directly." I exhaled. "And the past, masseuse?" I asked. She paused. We've calculated an overpayment of approximately $14,600, she said. We consider that amount misused by the payees. They will be responsible for repaying Social Security. Guilt flared. That's a lot of money, I said. Yes, she said. It is. It was also a lot of money that should have gone to your needs over the years. Fair. We've also referred the case to the Office of the Inspector General, she continued. They may decide to pursue further action, but that's separate from your benefits. For you, the important thing is you're now in control of your own payments, and your record reflects that you were the victim of misuse, not the cause. Tears pricked my eyes. Thank you, I said. Really. After we hung up, I sat on the couch and let myself cry, not because I was happy my parents owed the government, because for the first time, a system that so often feels faceless and uncaring had looked at my situation and said, you were wronged, and we see it. The fallout on my parents' side was intense. Mom called me again, this time sobbing. They want us to pay it back, she said. They're going to take it out of our tax refund. Your father might have his wages garnished. We could lose the house. You won't lose the house over 14 grand, I said, trying to keep my voice level. They'll set up a payment plan. How can you be so calm? She cried. You did this. You did this years ago, I said quietly. I just finally told someone with the power to hold you accountable. She sniffled. We didn't think. She started, then trailed off. You didn't think I'd ever find out. I finished for her. Or that it would matter if I did? She didn't answer. Dad didn't call at all. I heard through my aunt that he'd ranted for an hour about great kids and government overreach. Family gatherings got awkward. Some relatives took their side. You should have let it go, my uncle said once. They raised you. They were just trying to have a life. Having a life on your sick kid's dime is low. My cousin muttered under his breath. I clung to that. Because for every person who said I'd gone too far, there were quiet voices saying, I wish I'd had your courage when my parents did something similar. It wasn't about payback. It was about drawing a line, one that said my disability is not your vacation fund. The best part for me was the shift in power. When my next SSI payment hit, it went directly to an account in my name. I used some to finally buy a decent mattress that didn't make my joints scream. I upgraded my cane. I put a chunk in savings as a buffer. The rest went to the boring stuff, copays, transit, a little toward that car I still needed. When I reapplied for the car loan, my credit report looked better. Those old medical collections were marked as resolved due to identity theft benefit misuse. My score ticked up. This time, the lender approved me with a slightly higher interest rate than I would have gotten without the damage, but still, driving my own car off that lot felt like reclaiming a piece of myself, not just physically, but symbolically. My parents had always framed my disability as something that made me less independent, less trustworthy with my own life. Now, the very system they'd exploited was on record saying, actually, they're the problem. I didn't rub it in their faces. I didn't have to. Every tax season, when a chunk of their refund disappeared into the Social Security recoupment hole, they remembered. Every time they complained about money, I thought of cruises and pools and my rusty shower chair and felt remarkably unbothered. Do I regret asking for an audit? Sometimes, when my mom's voice cracks on the phone, when she says things like, we're paying for our mistakes forever, and I hear the unspoken because you told on us. Then I remember being a kid, hearing we couldn't afford basic accommodations. I remember being an adult shaking in a dealership parking lot because a faceless bank had deemed me too risky, thanks to debts I never got a say in. I remember my parents checking the box that kept me dependent at 18 because they knew better. And I think I didn't put them in this position. They did. I just stopped letting them do it in the dark. My parents spent my disability checks on vacations, so I had Social Security audit them, not to ruin their lives, to reclaim mine. And to send a message to them, and maybe to anyone else listening, that people like me aren't walking ATMs. We're not side quests in someone else's "we deserve nice things" story. We're the main characters of our own, and we deserve better than being treated like a line item.